I'll explain in a simple way what a bottleneck is in a PC. A bottleneck happens when one part of the computer takes longer to do its job. It can't keep up with the other components. While it tries to finish its task, the others have to wait. That waiting happens many times while you use your computer. As a result, the system can't perform at its full potential. Even if some parts could work faster, they can't because they depend on that slower component. This doesn't mean anything is broken. Everything works, just not at the same speed. Computer components constantly exchange information. The processor uses data, the memory keeps it ready, and the storage sends it when needed. For the system to be fast, this flow has to be continuous. When one part responds slowly, the information takes longer to move. That delay increases the time it takes to complete tasks and slows down other components. The computer still works, but at a lower speed than it could reach. If the processor is basic and the graphics card is very powerful, the GPU doesn't receive data fast enough. This prevents it from working at its true capacity. If the RAM is limited, there isn't enough space to handle multiple programs at the same time. The system becomes slower when switching between tasks. If the storage drive is slow, the computer takes longer to open programs and load files. The other components have to wait until the data becomes available. It's important to keep balance between the components in your system. It's not a good idea to have one very powerful part next to another that's very limited. Before upgrading parts, you should observe which component is working harder than the others. If one is almost always at its limit while the others aren't, that's the one holding the system back. It also helps to check if the parts you choose have very different performance levels. For example, using a high-end graphics card with only 4 GB of RAM is basically a disaster. One part is far ahead of the other, and you don't get the performance you paid for. Upgrading the most limited component reduces that gap. With better balance, the system runs more smoothly. When components work at a similar pace, the computer performs much better overall. Hope you learned something new today. Subscribe to the channel to keep improving.